Now that we have our oak crooks stacked up for seasoning, it's time to get back into planking. The first step is cleaning up the rabbet where our next oak plank will be set. Out on the woodpile, we started gathering planking stock and roughly cutting those out. We've also been getting prepared to make some changes to the boathouse that will handle the snow better and should please the local inspector as well. So these are much too thick, of course, but fortunately, we have the perfect tool on loan from Kathy and Paul to take care of it.
Come on, baby.
We're getting to the last of the oak planks, and our choices on the woodpile are becoming much more limited. So you can see in the larger of these sections, there are plenty of knots in areas that will need plugs and graving pieces, and a few we'll need to avoid altogether.
So yesterday I went and laid these out, and I think up here will be narrow enough that we'll be above this tiny little bit of punkiness and below this thing. I wonder what lived in there.
Yeah.
These knots, if they get encompassed, cool, I think they'll be okay, and if they end up right on the edge, we'll just put a little graving piece. We'll figure that out once the plank's done. This pin knot's got to go, because that thing's just going to split out. You can see, yeah. But we'll just cut that, put a scarf there, and just put the plank right back together, and it'll be like this never even existed. This ends down here is fine. We'll just put the scarf there. Same thing with this one. It's got 2 little knots that we'll have to bung, but they don't go through. Same deal. We'll deal with those after the plank's cut out and see exactly what they look like. And then we got this real gorgeous one to do that wicked twist in the stern. So we just got to go through with the marking fid and mark all these out, and then I'll have you hold them on edge. I'll slice them with the chainsaw because that is a heck of a lot faster and can do it accurate enough so it works. And then we'll bring them one by one. We'll cut them all with the chainsaw, and then we'll bring them one by one over to the bench, clean them up a little bit with the power planer, stick them in the jig. Once they're smoothed up, we can bring them out onto the glue-up bench, put the boxes on them, warm them up, go inside, get the glue, and get the glued up, and then we can get loaded up for me to run to G&B tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds like a good plan. Yeah.
Steve was headed back to Ganon and Benjamin in Martha's Vineyard the next morning. We had spotted something special in our last visit to their open house, and they ended up offering it to us if we could come pick it up. We loaded up some oak stock to bring to them in return.
There's a big old boat, huh? Those masts are so crazily rigged. So yeah, we got the dock right ahead of us, and then Ganon and Benjamin is the dock to the left of the main one here. And that's where the ferry's gonna go, but I gotta get down to the car so we can drive off.
We were there to pick up this massive 26-inch thickness planer, and we're hoping that Grandpa and Joe can have everything humming again before the planking party.
So, should go a long way. Huge knives. Someone's been playing in some metal part. And we got some goodies there that we brought for G&B. So we'll get those unloaded and we'll start wrestling this rig on. But we're definitely a bit early. They're not expecting us for another hour or two. We got on the earlier ferry than we expected. So I'm wondering if by the time they show up, we'll have this thing all done. What do you think? We have it all done?
We can give it a heck of a try.
Before taking it off the trailer, Steve worked on building a sled to go into the planer. It will also hold the power supply for the machine, and we'll be getting a Chrysler Flathead 6 for that next week, so stay tuned.
Pitched roof over it, because the other thing is we've got to put in a hood that's probably about yay tall for the dust collection, so that we can keep on whatever. But like I said, we can go get some PT for whatever is going to contact the ground, and then we can kind of look at what we got and pick up whatever else we need for 2x4s or 2x6s. Hold it. Said I move inches and you move feet.
You'll find that out when you're up at the top of the mast as well.
Good job, lads. Casey and Steve are going to work outside getting a roof over the thickness planer, and I think Joe's on his way over. He wants to pull the head out and start getting the knives sharpened up. It's so great to have a crew to be able to just take care of that kind of stuff. And we got the other plank here into the boat, so I'm going to work on getting the glue lines cleaned up and getting this thing all marked out and being ready to cut. Unfortunately, Alex has still been sick. It's been almost a month now between a chest cold, and it seems that's turned into a pneumonia, and he's been doing a great job just kind of toughing it through so we can keep working. But by the time we got to deal with the roof for the building inspector in the next couple weeks, which is going to be a really big project, and we got to go down to Costa Rica, so he's really got to get healthy. So he's going to be working inside today on emails and getting caught up on all that sort of stuff and getting ready for the planking party and getting that stuff online while I work on the plank, because this is more or less a one-man job. It's not that much faster to have two people doing it, and the other guys will work on getting a roof over that thickness planer. And hopefully after another couple days of rest here and the antibiotics that he's on, he'll be back up into fighting for him and we can hit it hard. Well, yesterday I got one line drawn on this plank, but we got a bunch of other stuff done. So Joe showed up and we had to fabricate a socket because I don't own a square drive set of sockets for that old machine. So we took a socket and cut it up and welded an adapter into it so that we could get the planer knives out so that we can get those sharpened and get another set of them made up. And then Casey and his friend Steve came by and they got to work on building a shed basically for the thicknesser to live in. So that involved a Home Depot run with the trailer so to go get all the materials for that. And between coming here and doing a little bit of marking and then jumping out and helping with getting the materials and then jumping back in here and then going inside to talk to Alex and Christy about some stuff and then back out here and then into the garage to go help Joe, it was kind of a little bit of a crazy day. But we got a lot more accomplished than I actually really thought we were going to, so that was good. Today I'm going to get back to marking this plank and things are a little bit quieter, so that's good. I think Aaron's on his way over in a little bit. I'm going to put him to work finishing up the roof on the shed for the thicknesser and starting to clean that thing up. So we're getting there, slow but sure, and Alex is on the mend, so hopefully a couple more days of a bit of R&R for him and light duty, and he'll be back to fighting for him, which will be great. It's been a bit of a struggle having him so down and out, but we're getting through, carrying on. The as we've been building Arabella, we've been trying to choose our timber carefully, and we used some of our best oak for bending these frames, and then we used kind of some of our other really amazing oak for down low for the big garboards and for the really tight twists in the stern. And now the oak supply is not quite as glorious as it used to be, and we're starting to run into a few more defects, which aren't really a big deal. They just take a little bit of time to fix, and on these long straight runs on the planking on the hull here, they really cause no issue at all strength-wise. But we got a little knot here, a little dead knot that we're gonna clean out and put a plug in, and there's a couple more of these little ones in this plank that we gotta fix. So one of the reasons I'm not worried about strength with these little defects is the tree grows around the branches. So if you look at the grain here, it comes and it flows perfectly around the knot and then rejoins. So that's actually incredibly strong. But what we don't want is this rotten, punky bark stuff in here, which is what's left of that branch. And as we can see, that we don't want in the boat. And even if we were to take this out and bend the plank around the boat, as long as it doesn't connect a hole on the outside, it'll probably be okay for a really long time. The main concern with this is that this is a spot where rot's gonna start. So we wanna get all of this dead wood out of there and get that bark out of there, because otherwise this is gonna form a rot pocket, and what is a little hole is going to become a much bigger hole. So since this doesn't go all the way through to the other side, and it's not very big diameter, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take, in this case, a 5/8 inch drill bit, and we're just gonna follow it and drill it out. And then we're gonna take one of these plug cutters and grab a chunk of oak and go over to the drill press and cut a plug and glue the plug in there. And these are really easy fixes. So let's do that. So with these, the defect doesn't go all the way through the plank, so we don't want to drill all the way through the plank. So that's why I drill a little bit, pull out, blow the hole out, drill a little bit, and do that and repeat. Because all I'm trying to do is just get to the very end of where that branch died off and grew over, so that we don't have to take out any more solid wood than we have to, and we don't pop out the backside of the plank. So that's cleaned out, and like I said, we'll take this over to the drill press, we'll cut a plug, and that'll go in there. And if this plug isn't quite long enough to fill that, we'll just put a plug in and bottom it out, put a little more glue in there, and put a plug on top of it. It's not really a big deal. So I'm gonna go down and drill a couple more of these, and then I'll go make up a bunch of plugs, and when we go and glue the little graving piece we gotta do in over here, we'll glue these up as well. There you go. Now it's basically all done. You notice our poor bandsaw table is getting rusty. There's a big hole in the plastic here that we were going to fix, but the building inspector showed up and we've been kind of waiting to get the approval for the right plastic and to get the right plastic and all that kind of stuff. So thankfully the plastic come, we can fix it soon and give this table a little bit of a cleanup. Sorry, bandsaw. So we've only got like a few thousand of these to make to plug all the fastener holes in the hull. It'd be a lot of fun. But we'll get it set up like a lot finer, more production style, so it goes real quick. But this is the same process for cutting all the bungs for the fasteners. So those plug cutters are pretty neat. They put a tiny little shoulder on the very top of the plug if you cut them full depth. So we'll dribble a little glue in here when you bring it outside, and then we'll just drop the plugs in like that, hammer them down to the bottom. If we need another one, we'll put a little more glue on top of that one, put another one in. And these plugs I cut out of some really dry oak. So the plank is a little bit wetter than these are. So these are going to swell more than the plank is going to swell, and they'll be really nice and tight and fit in there. And one of the things you want to be careful with that is that you put the these in the correct orientation. So if I put them with the grain running the same way and then they swell, they can start to press that apart. Where if you put the grain in the opposite direction, it's going to press out. It's not going to swell and try to split the plank. It's going to swell and try to like split the plank lengthwise, which the grain won't let it do. So yeah, so we're going to pop these in there.
Right. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and everything's like, it needs to be cleaned up, but
Yeah.
everything works.
I'm assuming Joe's going to go at this thing a bit, eh?
Oh, he can't. He said he's like 60% of this needs to come apart so we can. I'm like,
Right.
he's
Yeah.
coming over Thursday, and Randy's up and moving again after his knee surgery.
Great.
So Randy's going to come over Thursday, and
Right.
I'm hoping that we'll have the roof done, and we'll just kind of take it apart and move it off to the side, and be like, have at it, boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it'll look great once he gets a hold of it.
Yeah.